just got this in. It's a EZ-GO TXT48. And basically we replaced the batteries in this back in 2023, and the customer unfortunately has not forgot to plug it in, and so it now does not charge. So we're going to go ahead and show the process of basically kind of hopefully rejuvenating this golf cart, since the batteries are so new. So let's go ahead and lift this up. Oh, before I lift that up, I just want to show, so if I take this charger here, right now it's plugged in, there's no light on the machine right now, and so I gotta plug this in right here. I'm gonna go to plug it in, we get nothing. So I'm gonna disconnect it, and I have my voltmeter here, and on my voltmeter, what I'm going to do is I'm going to probe these two lower probes right here. I have it set for DC, so it's in volts and it's in DC, and you can tell by the line there, this would be sine wave, which is AC, and then that's straight, that's DC. So then what I got to do is probe right here. So you have three prongs right here, and it's in this case it's these lower two, so from right here and right here. And when I check voltage, I'm reading 10 volts total right now. And then to confirm that, we'll go ahead and lift this up, and by the way, that's way too low, way too low. So then we're going to go ahead and pull this up. Put this on a little bungee. I mean, technically I could pull this off. Now, what I just did is, off of this, it goes up. Here's a positive lead for a charge, and then the negative connects right here. So, and just to confirm, if I have that still on there, so positive and negative, we're reading at 10.02 volts. So now we're going to go ahead and take a voltage reading across this battery, and we're reading 2.124 volts. I'm going to do the same thing on this battery here, the next one to it, 1.2, and I'm going to read across this one, 2.7. Now I'm going to go ahead and read across this one, 0.9, and then I'm going to go ahead and recross this one, 0.9. This one's like, I think this one is basically, okay, 2.1, and then I'll go over across this one, 0.8. Okay, so these are 8-volt cells. Each battery is 8-volt cells. So 8, 16, 24 plus 24 is 48 volts. We should see a total of 48 volts. And it's actually going to be higher than that. But if you just, you know, go off straight 8, it should be at least that. So what we're gonna do is we are actually gonna go ahead and pull these batteries out, and I'm gonna take them to our good place at our friends at Pacific Power Batteries, and then I'm gonna have them hopefully rejuvenate these batteries for us. They just have a lot more chargers and stuff that, I mean, I could do this, but it just takes a lot longer for me to do, whereas they have many of chargers and they can just go through all of these. So what I'm going to do, and what I always recommend doing, is take a picture of its current setup and then slowly disconnect it, and then go from there. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure, okay, so that's off, and then let me grab some tools, and we're going to go ahead and start taking this apart. So now that I got my tools ready, I'm going to go ahead and actually pull this seat out, because it's just, it's just less that I have to lean over and deal with. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is go ahead and first start over here and then work my way out. You got to take care in making sure that you don't touch tools across anything or drop any tools in here. And overall, right now, it's pretty much dead. There's not a whole bunch of concern, but still, you want to take care. So we're going to go ahead and loosen these up so I can do these by hand. Down in here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to separate the two halves, and I'm going to do that by first disconnecting this wire here, because how you can see it's all the batteries are connected in series, so you add up voltage. So it goes from here down to the charger. This wire goes off probably to the basically the electric motor, let's just say. And then see how negative goes to positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative. So I'm gonna just separate these two so we reduce if this was fully charged and at proper voltage, so we can drop the higher voltage. And then I'm gonna go ahead and separate these. Just make sure that wires don't go where I don't want them to go. And of course, you know, they'll check the fluid levels and everything, make sure that that's all proper. Disconnect those and tuck them aside. Now I'll go back onto this side. Disconnect here. And over here, and all I'm doing is just supporting the wire. So even though I take this off, the nut off, I'm just making sure the wire's not going in where I don't want it. It's just care that you got to take in consideration when working on these, especially with electrical. Now I can pull this off. This is all good. So this, these two need to stay together. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab a quick zip tie and I'll run it through here. I'm just gonna set it right here and I'll be right back and I'll show you. I grabbed a couple zip ties. So what I like to do, just to help make sure that I plug what I disconnected back in, is put a quick little zip tie on there. Just keep those together, and I'm gonna do that on the positive side. And I have these here that were disconnected. So that's the thing, is even though this wire is actually a positive lead, and you can see that it goes to the switch, so it's disconnecting. And I've seen like some of the China stuff, they'll actually disconnect the ground, which is interesting. And because usually things are grounded, but some do things differently. So I'm gonna go ahead and run a zip tie through all of these, so I know all of these stay together. It just makes things a little easier. And again, I did take pictures of everything so I know exact layout. Because if you notice, pause is over here, you could flip the battery around essentially, so then things will be a little weird. So you gotta just keep those things in mind. Okay, so now that I got that disconnected, we're gonna go ahead and disconnect these vent tubes on each end. And sometimes they can be kind of a pain. So I don't wanna. Let me grab a thinner pair of pliers. I'll be right back. So I grabbed a pair of really fine needle nose pliers, and basically I'm gonna stick it in between and then pop these vent tubes off. Try to get in between and just like that. That's a cap. I'm not worried about that. Try to break these loose. There we go. There we go. And then here's this one. This one. It's kind of pain. Closed. There we go. Then of course I have this one. The reason why I do these first is I want the batteries isolated. There's less worry when the batteries are at its lower voltage in terms of possibly causing damage or harm to anything than if you had them all hooked up and you were to do this and then you accidentally touch stuff that you shouldn't be touching under the high voltage. There we go. All right, so those are all isolated. Okay, so now we have to here's my deep socket. We're gonna pull the retainer out. Looks like they were loose. Pull this battery, or pull this bolt out. Same gig on here. Set that aside, and we can pull this up and out. All right, so now we can pull these batteries. Now to do that, they have these nice little hangers. You'll have to probably buy one if you don't have one, but I'm telling you, it makes life so much easier on trying to pull these out. You just hook them on like that, and you can lift them up and pull them out. So we'll go ahead and do that to all of our batteries. And I usually do this row first, if I can. And then these guys are a little bit more of a pain because they're more tucked in here. There is a tray in here, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull these out and just set them right over here so they're out of my way, so I'm not gonna get hung up on them. And then, but there is a divider there, so I can't just slide it over. So I gotta lift up, pull over. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and, so these, just so you know, they're Trojan batteries. These are awesome batteries, great batteries. So what we're gonna go ahead and do now is we're gonna go ahead and take these over to Pacific Power Batteries. We're gonna have them rejuvenate them, hopefully, and then once we get them back and we figure out what the condition is of them, we'll go ahead and get this golf cart back up and running, and I'll show you from there. We got the batteries back. They've been reconditioned. They topped off the fluids and stuff, and got the batteries going again. So even though they tested them, everything checked out fine, I'm going to do a quick voltage check on each one. And so this one here, we're at 8.46 volts. This one here, 8.38. This one here, 8.47. This one over here, 8.42. This one here, 8.39. And this one here at 8.36. So we are within its proper range, and so now we're going to go ahead and take these batteries and reinstall them in the golf cart. So now, when reinstalling these batteries, the biggest thing is making sure you get them in the proper orientation. This is why we always take pictures of everything, because sometimes we're not able to continue until at a later date, like in this case. So if you look here, I have the picture up on my computer screen here. This is the orientation it's supposed to be. This is that side of the mower, and then this is, or I'm sorry, golf cart, and then this is that side of the golf cart. I already rearranged the batteries on the floor in this proper orientation, so it makes it quick and easy for you guys, so you're not seeing me do all of this stuff. But I just wanted to show you that you do want to make sure, and that's why we always take pictures. So we're going to go ahead and start getting these in. And when you get these in, you really want to take care, do not tip them over, so you don't get battery acid everywhere, because that stuff's no joke. It will slowly eat away at things. And then these, you know, the strap you can purchase at the battery place. In this case, it's Pacific Power Batteries that we work with. We have a good working relationship with them, and I really like their batteries. I've had nothing but positive things to say about their batteries in general. These batteries are not light. Now, before I get these in, gotta remember we have these that go in, and then the lock cap just to hold all the batteries down go in like this. So I'm gonna get these back in place, so it just hooks in just like that. So I'm gonna have this one. I'll probably have to lift it up when I go to grab the other battery, because it just wants to lay over. Till then, there we go. And we have one more, same gig. We might be able to sit right. Yeah, just give you kind of an idea on this battery acid here. I always put stuff down in the vehicle when I go to transport these, like cardboard, some, you know, blankets or whatever. In this case, it was a towel, and what happened is you get a little bit of spillage and it ended up chewing up that towel over time. And so definitely make sure that you have something underneath before you place them in your vehicle. Otherwise you could have carpet damage, and it'll just make for kind of a bad day unless you don't care about your interior. Okay, so get these on here, just started. There we go. And these two are kind of, so I'm going to grab a screwdriver to see if I can kind of nudge it. There we go. Now I can tighten these down. You don't have to go cranking them down like crazy or anything. Just your normal. Get it nice and snug and stuff. Now making sure all these caps are down. Sometimes you can bump them and they'll get moved. That all looks good. So now we're going to go ahead and reconnect these tubes to each one of these batteries. This one, if I remember correctly, went in the middle. And this one here, these two join. Let me just double check, make sure I do have that in its proper orientation. I'm going to take a look. See how these are all in a row? These are all in a row. These are flipped. So one of these, which is not a big deal. I mean, technically I can pull these and flip it. Unless I can get that tube on there. And I don't think I'm going to be able to do that properly. So I'm going to flip it. Let's see. We'll just go ahead and take this out, flip them around. Now just be careful, you don't, I'm gonna get some paper towels, but in the end, just be careful with the battery acid. Just be careful with it. Wear safety glasses if you pull the stuff up. Honestly, I recommend wearing them in general. Okay, so make sure all that's on. Now we got to tie the rest of this together. So this two connects to the other end. This one and this one. Seems a little tight. So actually, I'm going to change. I'll fish that out here in a second. This one's a little longer. There we go. Grab the one on the ground. These two. Together like so. So the idea behind this is you have this one hook up here, and you can put distilled water through here and it'll start to fill and equalize in all of these. That's the whole idea behind this. And then this is kind of, you know, some other information on there. Yeah. Okay, so now that we got all these tubes reconnected, all this looks good. Just double checking. Make sure everything's down. Okay, everything looks good. Now we're gonna go ahead and tie this whole system together. So, if I remember correctly, we have our positive. Let's see here. So we're gonna chain all these. So we have positive, negative, and we have positive, negative, negative, positive, positive, negative, negative, positive. And I believe we have our ground is going to end up here, so our negative is going to end up here, and I believe our positive is going to end up right here. So this is, once we chain them all, this is where we're going to end up being, if I remember correctly. But I'm going to take a look again at our photo just to confirm that everything ends up over here, because I want to make sure that, you know, for the wire hookup, like this one here, that we put our zip tie on here for the ground. This is our ground setup, and then we have another one in here that is, I'm not sure what that is. We have another one in here that is for our positive, which is this right here, and it looks like it's going to reach to here or here. And I believe it was right here, if I remember correctly. So I'm going to take a quick look at the picture just to confirm real quick our orientation. Yep. And that is the case. So I'm going to go ahead and have my phone out here so I can just kind of double check things along the way. So it should go. So I'm going to first hook up this. So the reason why we zip tied it together is to keep everything together, so it makes for a quick, easier installation, and we know what we had. Excuse me. So we'll cut this off. So we have 3 connections. You can't just go setting tools in here. You really don't want to do that. Okay, so since this is our positive, and how I always like to start is from the high voltage. So once you chain all these up, this will end up being the high voltage terminals, these two here. So I always like to do these two first, do half a set, and then do the other half, and then tie it. That's just how I like to do it. I mean, you can do it differently. Okay, so and we'll get snug, just like so. Okay, so that one's hooked up. Now we have our ground. So we have 2 ground terminals here. Let's set that over there. And this is our negative. So negative here. So what I like to do sometimes, depending on the case, so since this is kind of narrow, I don't like to put, and this one has a nice big wide flat stuff or spot, almost like a washer. I like to put the wider ones on top. I know I didn't do that on this one, but generally I like to do it that way, because then when I go to put this nut on, I have something more kind of sandwiching that all together, and there's less chance of damaging the smaller terminal. There we go, and that one's nice and tight. Okay, so then we go So this is our positive, so this should be our negative, and it is. And that negative should go to a positive. So that means we're gonna have a cable like so. And I'm gonna actually have this go underneath. So I try to pay attention to where the wire's routing and stuff. And just try to make sure that, you know, we're not putting extra stress on things and whatnot. Okay, so there we go. So that, and then we go from, let's see, then would be negative to positive, which would be another one. We're chaining this up. So we're adding, so we have 8 volts, 8, 16, 24. So that'd be 24 right here. If we take a measurement to here and here, that'd be 24 volts. Here to here, it'd be 16 volts. Here to here, 8 volts. So it's additive. So we're adding it up because we're going in series. Now if we're going in parallel, there'll be 8 volts, but then our capacitance increases. So just note on that. And then, like, if you notice, I'm not cranking right out here. Move my hand in, less torque, and just get it nice and snug. Okay, so now, before I chain these two, which is negative and positive, I'm gonna do this side. So, over here, this will be our positive, and it should go to our negative. And then positive to our negative. Now, in terms of cable, let me just double check that I am using the same, yeah, okay, so this is how you did it last time. Just want to make sure I'm keeping fluid on how it was set up before, because they had a way to make sure these wires, generally speaking, there's a reason why the wires were laid out in that direction, and everything should work out in reversal when you put it back together, as long as it was done right in the first place. Okay, same gig. And I'm always trying to make sure I don't drop any tools in here or touch anything other than I need to. The only reason why I move my thumb out here is because of how my hands are arranged. Okay, so this is our ground. This is positive to negative. I'm just double checking. And then this should be positive and then to negative. So right here. So positive and negative. This one. And then the last two should be positive and negative. Okay, so ground, that means positive, negative, positive to negative, then positive to negative, positive, negative, positive to negative, and then positive. Okay, so now we should be able to just tie this in. The final two. And then I'll show you with the multimeter. So let me grab my multimeter, which is right here. So I set this to DC. And since this is all plastic, rubber and stuff, there's no metal on this, so I'm not worried about if I set it on here. But I'm gonna set it here so you guys can see this, hopefully. Okay, so doesn't matter which direction, you'll see a negative here if I have this backwards. So like for example, this is positive, this is negative, you'll see it show that little negative part there, but if I flip it, that will go away and it's positive. So it doesn't matter. So positive here to negative here, 16. Positive there to negative here, should be 24. And then same gig all the way down here, and then you tie it all together. So if I go over here, see, and then over here, and then over here to our last one, 50 volts. So we just confirmed we have 50 volts, and this is all wired in series like it should be. So that's good. All right, so now that we got all those terminals installed, I always like to apply some battery terminal protection spray. You can use like dielectric grease and stuff. This is kind of basically that same thing, just in an aerosol form. So just shaking it up real quick, and then just kind of coat it. It just helps kind of keep things from oxidizing and such. Cool, already got that. All right, so now that we got all of that together, we're gonna go ahead and take the charger, which is this guy here, and we are gonna go ahead and plug it in. This is made of metal, so I'm gonna just set it over here. And there's a little light on here. And here's the other end of the charge cord that goes to the golf cart. And in this case, it plugs in right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and plug that in. We're gonna go ahead and plug this in, and we're gonna make sure that this is working. So it flashing green like that is saying that it's charging. If I remember correctly, this will start to flash a little quicker. Oh yes, right here on the side, it says LED short flash green is under 80%, long flash green is over 80%, solid is charged 100%, and if it's flashing red, there's a fault code. And so we're flashing green, and I guess you can say it's a long. I'm not sure what the short looks like. I can't remember. I think it's just a little shorter than that. So overall, it is charging. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and disconnect this, and we are going to go ahead and test it, make sure that the golf cart is actually working now. We'll go ahead and put the seat back on. To do that on these, there's just a little tab down there, right there, and another one over here, like so. And then I think this is off, so we're going to turn that on. It's a battery disconnect for the system. You can see it connects here to the positive, so it's disconnect of the positive. And I would assume if the key is retained, it's there's continuity going through. If I take it off, there's no continuity. I don't know why they would retain the key in there if it's off. But that's my assumption. So I'm gonna go ahead and leave that like so. I'll grab a few things off the front, go over here. All right, so we have the parking brake on currently, and we're gonna turn this in on position. And it's in on position right here on this display. It shows 51.6 volts. So it looks like everything's good so far. Let's go ahead and hit reverse. I get noise, and it looks like it is moving. We're going to hit this forward button on here. That looks good. I'm gonna put in neutral. I'm gonna turn on what looks like a blinker. I don't know if those were working. I hit the horn, I don't see anything. Pull that out, I don't see anything. So I don't know if that was working prior, and that could be something else. So we'll have to contact the customer and kind of check on that. Let me just do one more thing. If I put this in forward, turn that on. Don't see anything. If I turn the lights on, I don't see anything. I press the horn button, I don't get anything. So we'll have to contact the customer and see if those were working or not. But so far those aren't working, but the dry system and everything is working. So outside of contacting the customer and verifying if those were working or not, we got the batteries reconditioned, reinstalled. We'll need to clean this thing and then return it to the customer. So on to the next one.